Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to a new episode of the Late Night Lake Show podcast presented by Prize Picks. It is your host, Ricky and Kwame. Joining us today in the Late Night Lake Show studios is our boy, Jovan Buha of The Athletic. Jovan, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
I mean, I don't think we could be too much better right now. Like, all things considered.
It's true.
We ran into Jovan at the Lakers Bulls game last Wednesday, and I'm gonna be honest with you. There's not a lot of people that tower over me. Jovan's one of those people. Unless you're an athlete, I don't expect most people to just be gargantuan over me. So I guess to just kick it off, Jovan, the Lakers had that open roster spot. Everyone's talked about centers. Are they holding it for you, or what's the situation going on, man?
Yeah, there was a point earlier in the season where I told Rob, I was like, if you guys need a shooter or some size, I'm available for a 10-day, but obviously didn't work out. But nah, I mean, I think they looked obviously at the market, and I think for them, they just don't really feel like there's a guy out there worth a 10-day. The one guy I know they had interest in earlier in the season, and I think would have signed to a 10-day had he been available, was Myers Leonard. But obviously he's in Milwaukee and ended up signing a couple 10 days and then signing with them for the rest of the season. So I think looking at Tristan Thompson, Tony Bradley, like those guys are fringe NBA players right now, and I think for them, they've been really happy with what Wenyen's been able to do. You saw last night in Houston, them going to some Rui / LeBron at the 5. And I think that was more of a matchup thing where they could get away with it against Houston, that you're not going to be able to get away with that in every matchup. But we've seen LeBron play the 5 more the last few seasons to mixed results. I think offensively, it's typically been good, basically going 5 out. But obviously defensively, there are some concerns with those groups depending on the surrounding players. But I think, Mo is supposed to be reevaluated this week. I would not be surprised if he's back by the end of the week. And, so I think maybe it's a game or two type thing where you might want that extra big ideally. But I think had they found that player, they would have already been on the roster. I think it's been weeks that the Lakers could have used another big. And I think they just didn't really like the current options out there. I think the other one, of course, would have been Jay Huff had he been available. Which guy right in their backyard. It was a guy that had been in consideration for a 2-way spot for them earlier in the season. So I think there had been a couple of options that were out there that they were considering, but ultimately it kind of fell through. And I think they've been happy with, of course, AD has been balling right now and playing at an All NBA level. I think again, Wenyen has been playing at a high backup caliber level. So I think once they get Mo back, most likely by the end of the week, I think things are going to be fine. And, I think they kind of missed that window, though, for signing a 10-day guy.
Just for the record, for the audiences listening across the nation, Mo Bamba potentially could be back by the end of the week, if not next week. Is that what we heard correctly, Jovan?
Yes. I had heard initially it might he might have been early on the timetable and returned before the 4-week reevaluation period. But I suspect tomorrow in Utah we will get an update from Darvin Ham with some more clarity. Now the Lakers have 4 games remaining in the regular season. I think they'd ideally like to have their whole group for those 4 games, or at least 2 or 3 of them. To close out the regular season and go into either the play-in or the postseason with everybody whole. Now, I think that the Mo versus Wenyen, rotational battle is going to be really interesting, just because Wenyen's played at such a high level, and we've seen this from Wenyen really dating back to last season. One, given the minutes, yes, there are some limitations with fouls and with his shooting range and sometimes with the turnovers or the decisions, but like, Wenyen is a hooper, and I just think he brings so much to the table from an energy perspective, from a defensive versatility perspective, and really, a lot of times going up against backup centers, it's one thing if you're starting him and asking him to play 25, 30 minutes, but in 12 to 15 minutes off the bench, like I think he's been more than solid. So I don't even know if they necessarily even need Mo. Like I think it's obviously nice to have that optionality and to have a stretch five who has some size and can be a rim to turn in there. But realistically, that spot come playoff time, I think is playing 6, 8, 10 minutes a game, right. and those are valuable minutes. So every minute matters in the playoffs. But I don't know if that's necessarily like I think you can get by with Wenyen if you just have Wenyen, but I would suspect Mo to be cleared by the end of the week, if not going into game 1 of the playoffs.
I like it. I like it. That's a great update. So obviously we know you're on borrowed time, and as you got to get ready to travel to Utah for the Lakers game against the Jazz tomorrow. The Lakers are currently sitting at 40-38 and sitting in the 7th seed out west. They're only a half game behind the Clippers and the Warriors, who are in 6th and the 5th seed respectively. Safe to say, it's going to be one of the more exciting finishes to the regular season in Lakers history. I mean, I think we got to chalk it up to that. We know you got some of the inside scoop, what's happening behind the scenes in the Lakers locker room. Can you speak on the different energy in the building and what's streaking with this Lakers team? What changed? What's different?
I mean, it's been night and day since the beginning of the season, and really dating back to last season. Like this is my 3rd year on the beat, and I would say going back to the last time I felt these vibes around the team was probably 2021 postseason, and obviously, remember that they were up 2-1 on the Suns, and then AD goes down and they end up losing that series. But you got Drummond and the bench going crazy. And that was that was actually kind of like the turning point in the series. What was the Lakers bench, Bakken, Jay Crowder and whatnot. But I would say it has to go back to then. Of like it feels like a college locker room right now. Like you got just guys are joking and playing music and making goat noises when LeBron and AD are talking, and it's just like. Anytime anyone is talking to the media, other guys are gassing them up, and it's just the vibes are at an all-time high right now, and of course that comes with winning. And I think most NBA locker rooms are better in a winning environment, but I think they kind of go hand in hand, where the vibes have been better, which has helped the team win more, but they also have a better roster, which has also helped the team win more, and then kind of led to those better vibes. So I think just all around this group makes a lot more sense. This might be the best kind of fitting roster around LeBron and AD we've seen. It's obviously, I think, this one or the championship season. And, you just look up and down the roster of, D'Lo and Dennis at point guard. That's probably the strongest point guard group the Lakers have had, thus far in the LeBron AD era. Vando, I think, is the best perimeter defender they've had. Malik, the shooting's been up and down, but he can get hot like a game like New Orleans. Austin has been growing and developing all season. Rui has obviously been playing at a high level these last few games, and really for kind of up and down the last few weeks, but like his peaks have been really impressive, and I think kind of show that there's more there. So like just looking, Troy Brown was a guy who's stepped up and been a starter, been really high level shooter, multi positional defender. So like I just think this group is gelling at the right time. The health is the most important thing, as always. When AD went down, I was like like most Laker fans were probably thinking as well. Like I was just thinking, the season's over, and because AD's there, he's holding his left ankle. He tries to get up, he falls down again, and you're just like, this is bad. Like, and it was kind of just so ironic or coincidental that it happened in Minnesota, where he injured his knee in the 2021-22 season and then was out for whatever 6-7 weeks. So there's just been the last 2 weeks have been a whirlwind of this team. I think finally kind of finding its groove, figuring out the rotation, figuring out the lineups, LeBron and AD peaking at the right time. And we haven't really seen, I think, the peak from LeBron yet. Like we haven't seen the December, January LeBron, since then. So I think you get him playing at the level he was playing at midway through the season. And I think this is as scary of a team as there probably is in the West.
No, that's fact. thinking back to this roster, and the questions were asked on the timeline, just comparing this Lakers roster to the championship one, or even the year after the championship one, was pretty strong. But you're right. When I think of the backcourt, having the point guard rotation be D'Lo to Schroeder, like hell, Dennis was our starter. So back in the day. So
Right.
I do want to just kind of not to pour cold water over an amazing period of Laker basketball that we're in right now. But I promise you, Jovan, if DAngelo Russell comes down with another random injury, and I say random because they are coming at the most random times. This one was in the first half, and he missed the second half of the Rockets game. I guess, in all seriousness, what is the current status on DAngelo Russell's foot at this moment? Do you think he's going to play against the Utah Jazz?
I do. Now, I will say that the stuff with D'Lo and his injury statuses have been a little murky, I'd say. And, I think just it's felt like, the couple times he's been injured, he's been out a little bit longer than initially expected. So I can't rule out that maybe he sits one end of the back-to-back and, that's not, I think that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But my expectation is he will play on Tuesday. Darvin said that he would have returned had the Lakers needed him to, but they felt like, with the state of the game and the guys who were available, they didn't need him. I don't know if that's Darvin just covering for him or what, but I think it's because, the truth is, at the time they had a 10-point lead at halftime. So like that game was like, I think looking at the game, you felt like the Lakers were in control and Houston went on a little run to end the half. But like we've seen this formula with the Lakers before, and that's kind of been one of the maddening things with this group has just been, the lack of consistency at times and sometimes losing these games against lesser opponents that they should beat. So it was not wrapped up at halftime. I think it was wrapped up in the third quarter, but it was not wrapped up at halftime. So, but I think that, again, kind of to our point about the depth of this team, like having a Dennis, having an Austin, obviously having LeBron back, like you have more confidence in your lead ball handlers and guys that can run the offense. So I do think from that perspective, if one of those guys, like if LeBron was out, I would have been surprised if D'Lo also sat out, and then they said the same thing, and we're like, well, we were confident with the guys we had out there. Like, so I think it's all kind of perspective, but it does kind of feel like he's being overly cautious with it being a contract year and just not wanting to risk anything. But these games obviously really matter, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how that logic applies in the playoffs, where every possession, every second really matters, and like it's not about your next contract; it's about what can you do in a given game, in a given series. So I think that's something to kind of monitor moving forward.
It's fair. So, gotta ask just right out front. Coming off a road trip tomorrow after the Jazz game, that'll be the last leg of the road trip. Technically, the Clippers game is on the road, but it's at home. Is there any chance that LeBron and AD sit out either one of those back-to-back games? Are these guys really trying to look to just win out and let the chips fall where they may? Is there any strategy behind it? Are they trying to be a little well-rested? What do you get from the vibe of the team as we kind of come to the conclusion of the season of how they'll manage these last 4 games?
I think they're going to try and win out. I don't think they're like I don't think the Lakers have the goodwill with the basketball gods quite yet to play around with this thing, because you try to play around with it and avoid 5, and all of a sudden you drop to 8, and now you got to win 2 play-in games just to be the 8 seed.
Right.
Right. Like, or potentially, I guess 1 if you're in the 7-8, but
right, you're the 8th.
But that's, or you could lose that game and then have to play the winner of 9-10, and so like I just think that there's too many ways it could go south. Now I will say, like, I think on paper Phoenix is probably the toughest matchup in the West. They're 5-0 with KD, and a lot of those games they haven't really broken a sweat. It feels like they're just it's kind of like 2016-17 Warriors vibes, where they're just so loaded offensively that it's almost like a cheat code. But I think that the Lakers and Suns have some unfinished business with the 2021 series, and just kind of the way that some of those matchups have gone the last couple of years. So I think, now if they rest, like I think the one guy you can maybe see rest would be LeBron, just because he just came back from the injury. It was a 4-week thing where he kind of beat expectations. Everything I had been hearing, everything that national reporters had reported was he was targeting that final week, the last 3 or 4 games, maybe making his return tomorrow in Utah or at home versus the Clippers. But for him to, come back at the time he did, still be somewhat on a minutes restriction. He said, I asked him about that, and he said he was targeting the end of the road trip to kind of be back to normal. So, that doesn't sound like a guy who's going to rest, but I think if there were a guy to rest, it probably would be LeBron. Now, AD did twist his ankle in Minneapolis, and didn't look that way in the second half of that game.
Fooled me.
And didn't look that way against Houston. So, I think at this point, like if you're LeBron and you're AD and you're the Lakers, like they've already missed enough games. Like, they've missed more games than they played together in the last 3 seasons. And, to have them, one of the two, miss another game, like I think it would have to really be something drastic, or there's a legitimate concern that, they're not going to be ready for game 1 or something, or they might not be as close to 100% as possible for game 1, that would cause them to rest. But I think they're going to play. I think the momentum right now, again, going back to the vibes with the team, like I just think if you can enter the playoffs on a 7-game win streak and be the 5 or 6 seed, like now,
that no matter what seed
potentially, like if you enter as a 6 seed, now you're playing the Sacramento Kings. And I think, that's a team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. Those guys facing the Lakers, I mean, we've seen already that they've had multiple high scoring affairs that have gone down to the wire. And the Lakers haven't been whole for all those games. And I just think if you're the Lakers, you can enter with a, winning 7 straight or 6 of 7 to close the season and go on as a 5 or 6 seed. Like you have to take that. So I think for them, that's really the focus right now.
The goal is to be the hottest team entering the playoffs. It's really that simple. There's reasons why you hear about scary 7 seeds, scary 8. It never ends up, turning out to be anything more than just a longer series. But damn it, the West is on paper flipped on its head, right, Jay? Like you got the Warriors, you got the Clippers, you got the Lakers. Hell, Dallas, we about to say bon voyage, so I can't even throw them in there. But
honestly, the middle of the West is I think the scariest part of the West. Like I think Suns, Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, like those 4 teams. I don't think you want to play any of those 4 in round 1, and it's going to just be 2 of those teams are going to play each other in the 4-5. Someone's going to play Phoenix in the 4-5, and then you got one of those teams is going to play Sacramento and probably be the favorite. And then one of those teams is going to play Memphis and I think have a 50-50 shot at winning that series. So like, to be 2 through 4 in the West right now, it's no cakewalk. Like, you could make the case like 5 through 7 might end up being favored all in round 1.
Wow.
Congratulations for a strong season. Here's LeBron and AD healthy as hell. So
no easy rounds out West. No easy rounds. It's going to be tough.
Oh, Jay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to move into some of our player-related questions. Rui Hachimura, we're damn near about to change the name of the whole program to his network in his honor. And then, like everybody's favorite hillbilly Kobe, we got to see if Austin Reeves is going to be a Laker past this season because this boy is hooping. Late Night Lake Show with Jovan Buha. We will be right back.
The Late Night Lake Show podcast is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best legal way to play daily fantasy player props in states like California, New York, Texas, and more. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. The best part is you can mix players from different sports. You could take the over on LeBron combined with the under on Mahomes in the same entry. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy because it's just you versus the projected numbers. Just use our promo code LNLS and any deposit you make can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So go support the brand and go win you some money. It's the best of both worlds. Again, use our promo code LNLS.
All right, y'all, welcome back. Late Night Lake Show. We got our boy Jovan Buha of The Athletic in the building. Jovan, I'm gonna be honest, I think I have, it's almost in a spiritual awakening every time Rui gets the ball in the mid-post. My man is about as automatic as you can get in reality. He's shooting 50% from the mid-range, which, you know, if you ask Geek Squad, is a lost art in the NBA. It's threes or layups is what you should be going for, specifically corner threes. And Rui, this season with the Lakers, has proven that the mid-range is not dead, baby. It is just a lost art form. I can't really, you know, put together my emotions when I was watching the Bulls-Lakers game, and every 15 minutes I'm wondering where the hell Rui was, only to find out he got a DMP CD. But now, with LeBron back, we see more Rui time. We see more Rui and LeBron time over the last couple of weeks, and the production has been beautiful. Rui, AD, beautiful. Rui, LeBron, beautiful. Just talk to me, I guess, about Rui's role in this rotation now that it seems like he's carved out a slot here, and how you think he could best be utilized when we get down to playoff time and now we're playing 4, 5, 6 games against the same team on end.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, it didn't really get that much pub on Twitter, at least from what I saw. But, you know, Darvin was asked about the DNP CD the following game in Chicago. And he basically said, like, I'm kind of reading between the lines of what he said. It was basically like, you know, to paraphrase, like, I want more of that fire from Rui, you know, and I want to see that consistency game to game and just him fully locked in, him, you know, fully bought into the game plan and what we're trying to do. And I feel like you've seen that from him since that. And, you know, I think that the one knock on Rui, I think as a Laker and really throughout his career has been, you know, there are times he's kind of just out there floating a bit and not making an impact. And I think seeing last night against Houston, you know, him having 3 blocks, him being a rim protector, him being that kind of game changer defensively, like Darvin talked about it after the game where he's like, I've been encouraging him to go block shots, like go pin the ball against Jerry West on the backboard. And like, I think, you know, he's not going to be that type of guy every single night because, you know, I just don't, you know, we haven't seen
he can't
that
play
level.
Karl Anthony Towns every night, apparently. That's
no, but yeah, I mean, his defense against Karl Anthony Towns, like, I think, beautiful. You know, the guy that Rui kind of reminds me of is Jeff Green. And I see like kind of a little bit in like the beginning of his career, it was like, okay, Jeff Green came in and he was hyped. He was number 5 pick. He was in the Ray Allen trade. And I think people were kind of looking at him as like a franchise cornerstone, and he just kind of wasn't that player. But and that was, I think, sort of similar limitations of like, you know, incredibly athletic, incredibly talented, incredibly physically gifted, but just sometimes would just kind of be out there floating and settling for mid-range jumpers and just kind of not making an impact out there. But you see, like when Rui is locked in and engaged and you know, playing with some dog in him and kind of, you know, playing almost like Vando a little bit, like he can do things defensively that not many guys can do. And I think it really changes the dynamic of the Lakers front court where, you know, you can throw out basically any combination of AD, LeBron, Vando, Rui, Wenyen, even Mo in certain matchups. And like, you can switch 3 through 5. You can, have each of those guys, they can all defend pick and rolls. They can all protect the rim. They can all rotate to the corner. Like they can all do different things defensively and kind of replicate each other's roles across the floor. So I just feel like he's kind of an X factor for the Lakers. I think he increases their ceiling to a certain extent, especially against second units where we've seen like he can eat against basically any second unit. There aren't many second unit guys with his size and athleticism and physicality. So to me, I think he has a really important role with that second group. With both second groups playing with AD and also playing with LeBron. I like that small ball look that we saw last night. So I think, there were times where it was kind of like, is he going to fit in long term? Like, is he, a sunk cost of the invested 3 second round picks in him? And, yes, it's better than having Kendrick Nunn on the roster just because he fits a front court need and, is just a better player. But, is he someone that's really worth investing in? And I think he's shown recently, really over the last 2-3 weeks, I think he's kind of, found his own, or come into his own rather. But these last few games, I think has just really looked like a high impact role player off the bench. And, I think is someone that's going to be in the top 7 or 8 of the rotation. And that's what the Lakers need.
Absolutely. I would have to agree with every point that you made. Rui has been phenomenal, the minutes that he's played, and even just the new energy that he's had. Like you said, just the impact defensively, offensively, all of that. Right. But let's talk about another favorite Laker on the team. We got Austin Reeves. He's been great, man. He's been shooting impressively in various areas of the courts. 77% in the restricted area, 52% in the paint, 54% mid-range, 47 on above the break threes. And we know he gets to the line. I see the trolls on Twitter cry every Lakers game about him going to the free throw line time after time after time. So, Jovan, do you think Austin's recent performances have surprised the Lakers front office at all? And if he continues this trend throughout the playoffs, is there a possibility that he could price himself out of the Lakers budget and lead the team this summer?
No.
I think there's been a little surprise. Like I think that the Lakers have always been high on Austin. And and even to the point where I would say, I might even say that the front office has been higher than the coaching staff at times, where I think some of him not closing certain games or him not starting or just his minutes being up and down at times, I think, hasn't, I think that's been more of a coaching thing than a front office thing. But I think, the jump he's made, like, I think it's been legitimate. Like, I think he's established himself as a starter. I don't think there are 30 shooting guards better than him in the NBA. I think he would start on at least 10 to 12 teams right now, depending on, the situation. But just his ability to, I think he's just such a shapeshifter where he really can. He can be a lead ball handler. He could be a secondary ball handler. He's a good spot up shooter. He's good in transition. He could defend either backcourt spot. We've even seen him kind of slide up and defend wings. I don't think that's ideal, but he can do it in a pinch if you need him to. He competes in the paint. He fights. He boxes out. Like he gets hit in the face every game. Like I just think Austin, like he really is kind of an all around contributor, and I think based on the lineup can give you what you need in a given lineup. And I just don't think there are many guys, A, with that skill set and versatility, and B, that are willing to do that because, I think you kind of see with certain guys, it's like they want a certain role. They want to know, am I starting? Am I coming off the bench? Am I playing this many minutes? Am I closing? Am I like Austin just kind of rolls with the, goes with the flow and rolls with the punches of just whatever Darvin wants from me. Like I'm going to do that. And I think he's really excelled this season. So for the second part of the question, I think if the Lakers put down 4 years, $50.8 million or that equivalent, maybe on a shorter term deal, because I think there would be some appeal from Austin's side to signing a 2 or 3 year deal to hit free agency earlier again. I think he signs that and he remains a Laker. I think if the Lakers try and get cute and it becomes kind of an Alex Caruso situation or some of the similar stuff we've seen in the past, I think that's where you open the door for him to potentially explore other options. Because I think if Austin was not a restricted free agent, that always scares teams off. Of you just don't want to tie your money up for a few days in free agency and potentially lose out on other guys when the Lakers could just match it. Even to your point, like any contract he signs, the Lakers can match that. Right. Of course, I'm sure there's a limit to how much, if he signs a 4-year, $80 million deal, I don't think they're matching that. But wow. I think that's where you get
a lot of real estate in Oklahoma.
Yeah, like that you can open up a golf course. Like I think if you open up the market, I think he's going to be in that like 460 range. I think 460, 465. Like Austin, I think there are, in just conversations around the league, like there are teams and other situations where they look at it like the Lakers are still underutilizing him, and he could be, more of a number 3 option than he, as we've kind of seen at times especially when LeBron was out, like he was that kind of reliable 2 or 3 option depending on the night. So, I think that the only thing really working against him is his age, at being, 24 already. But aside from that, like I think, he is a high level. I think he's a guy who's going to be knocking on that door of like top 15 shooting guard, potentially next season. So, I don't think that's crazy, but maybe it is. But I think just the rate that with which he's improved, like I think you look at the beginning of last season and then look at the end of last season, and now look at where he started this season. Crazy. And as much as he's improved now, like I just think, he's a guy who's going to continue to age well, continue to improve as a shooter. Not even near his physical prime yet. I think he's going to continue to get stronger. So I think Austin wants to be a Laker, and I think he's going to be a Laker. But the one way I could see it going sideways is if the Lakers try to come in with an initial low ball offer or get cute with the years or whatever. And like, if they come with the full max and just basically say, do you want a 2-year deal? Do you want a 3-year deal? Do you want a 4-year deal? Like, we're giving you the max we can give you. I think he's going to stay. If they don't do that, that's where I think it gets a little tricky, and you could potentially see him at least sign somewhere else, and then it's on the Lakers whether they want to match that.
I would also say his goal is to be as successful as possible and make as much money as he can. So, Jeannie, Robert, hope you're listening, brothers, because if we lose this boy, if we lose this boy here, there's going to be hell to pay, goddammit. But these are good problems right now to have in Lakerland, that Austin Reeves is clearly outplaying his rookie deal.
Credit the scouting department, man. They crush it year after year.
Kill it. Absolutely.
It's nasty. And just, it's not part of our show lineup, but the new CBA was agreed upon. Yay, we no more lockouts. It was the worst 4 months of my life back in freshman year of college when the NBA was locked out till December. It was awful. Ugh.
You didn't like the Drew League games?
No, I didn't like those were good. Those were good.
Those.
You're right. I just I thought you were about to reference some other BS fake game that they had. I was actually thinking of those the pandemic fake basketball events that they had where it was virtual. Yeah, that was the worst thing known to man. But Jovan, the Lakers, I think, are in a position to benefit from the new CBA in regard to being able to and you correct me if I'm wrong, it was either you are able to extend a 3rd-year option, and maybe I'm misremembering this. There was something about second-year picks where the second-round picks where the Lakers, who are great in drafting in the second round, are able to add additional assets. Do you remember anything about that? I might just cut this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still processing the CBA. It's a little, it's pretty dense, and there's kind of a lot of changes. But I'm vaguely remembering that part of it, and it would, because I think that's the one thing with the Lakers right now is like looking at, signing Austin to a 2-year deal, signing Max Christie to a 2-year deal. I think they could benefit from doing some of these 3 or 4-year deals that you see the San Antonios and the OKCs and the Miamis, like those types of organizations that also draft really well and scout really well. Like, they signed their second round and undrafted guys to 3 or 4 year deals to kind of cost control the asset of, if this person breaks out, we have them under contract, and it's not a situation like a Taylor. I mean, I didn't even mention Taylor Horton-Tucker, another situation where he hit free agency, and then that kind of became an either or thing with him or Alex Caruso, and kind of led to that domino. So I think for the Lakers, any kind of like, I think one lesson that they're currently learning is the kind of value in signing some of these second round undrafted guys to longer deals. And I think the new CBA is going to help with that.
Specifically for all those listening at home, Shams Charania, I'm reading his tweet word for word. The NBA and the NBA Players Association, new CBA, will create a new second-round pick exception that can be used so teams will no longer need to dip into the mid-level exception, to sign second-rounders, sources tell Shams Charania. So, that's freed up money, right, hypothetically, for any of the second-round steals that the Lakers find, like a Max Christie, you feel me? So, we know you got to go to on one last question, and I can't even believe that we're talking about this, but got to give credit where credit is due. Darvin Ham, step on up. I got a daisy, I got a daffodil. There might be a couple weeds in there, not the kind you smoke, but Darvin Ham and the coaching staff's rotations have seemingly gotten much, much better, from the starters integrating Austin Reeves to the rotations, especially after that Rui Hachimura non-playing game against the Bulls. But the Lakers have clearly found a groove with these lineups and rotations. There was a lot of chatter, right, externally, but then it started to get a little bit closer to the sun with guys like Robert Horry and James Worthy starting to have questions out loud about how the Lakers are handling their rotations. Was there a conversation that you can speak of that the Lakers had with the coaching staff, Darvin Ham specifically, or really did this kind of just get all figured out because LeBron James and the rest of the team is 98% healthy?
I think first and foremost that it's just the team getting healthy, rounding into form. I do think there's been some trial and error where, Darvin has, even I think the Rui situation of the DNP CD, it's something that he learned from. And, part of that was trying to reward Lonnie Walker for the performance that he had. Now, I don't, I think it's kind of an apples and oranges situation where just because Lonnie plays well doesn't mean Rui doesn't have to play. And, but I think the thing I'm most interested in kind of with Darvin's rotations is going to be, he's still shown that when his back's against the wall and he has to make a tough decision, he opts toward the smaller lineup and toward the 3-guard lineup. And I just feel like I can envision it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the closing lineup is like AD, LeBron, Austin, Dennis, D'Lo, which has been a good lineup. Don't get me wrong, but I think you got to be careful. Like, I don't think that's a lineup you can play against the Suns or the Clippers, like these teams with these big scoring wings. Like, that's when you probably need Vando out there. And maybe a guy like Troy Brown is kind of splitting the difference where he's giving you that floor spacing, but also that kind of size on the perimeter. But I just think, like, I think there's been a lot of progress, but the one thing I'm really interested in watching over these next 4 games and kind of as the postseason starts is like when there is a critic, because all these games obviously are critical now where, like, any crunch time they get into now, it's going to feel like a playoff atmosphere, like it really did in Minneapolis. How does Darvin treat that, and does he default to his kind of habits of going smaller, or has he learned from that? Because that's really been my only criticism is, like, I just think a lot, like, especially post trade deadline, like this group, I think you almost have to work to find a smaller lineup versus, like, they just have so much front court size and versatility that, like, I think that you could go with Rui, you could go with Vando, you could go with Troy, you could go with what, like, I think Wenyen has had some moments where, like, he's helped them down the stretch. So, like, I just think that's my only thing. But I think starting Austin, reducing Dennis's minutes, pulling Lonnie out of the rotation once it was kind of clear that like he's very much a microwave guy, and it's just, is he hitting a shot or not? But like, he's not really providing much else. Paring down the rotation really to 9 guys for the most part, and probably 8 come playoff time. Like, I just think you've seen Darvin push the right buttons, and I know for a lot of fans it hasn't been as quick as they would like, and some of these decisions were obvious, but I think he deserves credit for figuring it out, and whether it took longer than it should have, that's up for debate. That's up for, interpretation. But I think he's clearly, I think, has a much stronger pulse on the team, and just the best lineups, the best rotations. And I think already you've seen, like, I forgot what, was it the Chicago game? It was a Chicago game where the bench just got wrecked. And I think, since that point, you've seen he's staggering, where LeBron or AD or DLO is always on the floor, and just making sure that, okay, I have like an all-star level guy on the floor at all times, which again, to some people might be obvious, but I think for him, it was kind of almost having a hockey platooning kind of situation where he wants to give 4 or 5 bench guys a chance to kind of form their identity, but that's just hard to do. And especially if you're going 8-9 guys, like, you're not gonna be doing that in the playoffs. So right. I think Darvin deserves credit for figuring it out again. Better late than never. And I think we'll see kind of these next 4 games in the postseason of, when he's facing a critical decision, what does he end up doing? And how much of this is temporary versus how much of this is like permanent. This is how I'm running the team now.
Jay, it's fun. We're at the end of the season. This is it. The juggling, the figuring out what rotations work, don't work, kind of work. You kind of got to have the Bible together heading into the playoffs, and not to put any type of wet blanket on the Lakers' momentum and every great thing that they're doing right now. And we just gave the daffodils to Darvin and the coaching staff, but I'd be lying if I said we weren't a little worried about a rookie head coach heading into the playoffs. But, nothing's going to tell us that story except for time. So we'll just have our fingers crossed, kind of ride the momentum of good decision-making that he's had right now, and hope that those assistants and the think tank that's there in El Segundo can put together some strong game plans for when we're playing these teams 4 and 5, 6, and hopefully not 7 games on end. But that's the playoffs where your weaknesses will get exposed. And if one of your weaknesses is coaching,
oh boy,
it could get a little ugly. So, Jovan Buha, as always, my brother, thank you so much for coming through and chopping it up with us, brother. Next time I'm sure we talk to you, we will be prepping for the playoffs, man, or probably a series in. So, as always, my man, we know you are a busy guy. Thank you so much for chopping it up with us.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. That'll do it for this episode of the Late Night Lake Show podcast. As always, make sure you have subscribed wherever you get your Lakers content. If you're not subscribed on the YouTube channel, I'm disappointed in you. I'm going to send Kwame to come see about you. But until then, make sure you are subscribed and you have liked and given it a 5-star wherever you get your podcast. So appreciate y'all rocking with us. The Lakers are 40-38, 4 games left in the regular season. And it's about to be fun, y'all. Whether we like it or not, it's about to be a fun race to the finish. So stay locked in with us, and we'll keep y'all posted. For Kwame, it's Ricky. Late Night Lake Show. See you on the timeline. Peace.